Hi, my name is Lisa DiNardo. I am a social worker and therapist with the Healing Recovery Center. I have over 15 years of experience working in individual, family, and group counseling with children, youth, and their families. Today I'm going to be talking about mental health, anxiety, depression, when to seek out support, and strategies that you can use at home. Factors affecting mental health include safety, sleep, eating, stable housing, sense of community or belonging, feeling free from violence and abuse, positive relationships in terms of feeling loved and cared for, resilience, ability and environment that enables you to bounce back from stress, a sense of purpose, and a sense of self-esteem. Marginalization has a large impact upon mental health. We have to acknowledge the intersectionality of the students, youth, and children that we work with every day in terms of their culture, their race, their ethnicity, their geographic location, religion, socioeconomic status, and sexual orientation. These factors contribute to a positive sense of self and level of resiliency, and their injustices and inequalities children face on a daily basis are quite clear. Discrimination and oppression create and reinforce barriers to mental health outcomes. During the beginning of COVID, Kids Help Phone saw a 350% increase in calls, and they also saw a dip in suicide and suicidality. Racism was the second leading cause of distress calls amongst youth. Kids Help Phone acknowledged that Indigenous and Black texters were some of the most distressed they had ever seen, and they saw double the increase in the number of kids reaching out about racism and discrimination due to racial injustices, and people having longer and heavier conversations with counselors. Distress has increased amongst children and youth since the pandemic because of restricted access to factors that contribute to good mental health. Rates of more serious mental health problems are relatively stable. However, we're seeing an increase in distress, increase in substance use and weight and body issues, and an inequitable impact across communities, groups, and individuals. In 2021, Kids Help Phone noted that youth reached out to them approximately 4.6 million times. The top 5 issues young people reached out about on their texting platform included anxiety or stress at 40%, relationships at 37%, depression at 28%, suicidality at 22%, and isolation at 17%. People for Education completed a study or research, and they noted that youth that are 12 to 17 years of age who previously reported having good or excellent mental health showed a decline by 12% since 2019. People for Education also noted through sources such as Toronto Public Health and CAMH that there was a 30% increase in emergency visits from youth related to self-harm, and that students felt 59% more depressed about the future since 2020. As I mentioned before, the impact of racism on mental health is quite clear in terms of feelings of disconnection, loneliness, second-guessing things, decreased hope, increased survival mode, decreased trust or feelings of powerlessness, existential questioning, triggering past or present traumas, and increased risk of depression and anxiety. Good mental health does not mean being happy all the time, nor does it mean never being stressed. It does mean being able to experience a range of emotions, and it does also mean being able to cope with different stressors. The pandemic effects were largely due to things such as a quarantine, stay-at-home orders, virtual school, job loss or work changes, financial changes, fear of someone getting sick or family members getting sick, actual loss, illness, or hospitalizations, lack of school support, and even social emotional support. Loss and grief does not only mean things such as death, but also loss of control, loss of routine and predictability, loss of income, loss of independence, loss of endings, loss of social and relationships, like social life. So, in essence, what do some of these behaviors tell us? It can be difficult to know the underlying causes of behaviors. For example, difficulties with attention and focus, hyperactivity, or even avoidance might be typical teen behaviors or a sign that your teen is sad or worried, or even that something else may be going on. So what is anxiety? It's an adaptive response that our bodies have that is primitive in nature. We scan environments to determine if a situation is safe, so we know how to respond. So basically, if someone were following us late at night, we would decide if we need to fight in terms of using our words by yelling and screaming for help, or by physically fighting your attacker off, or even flight by trying to run away from the situation. Or some people sometimes freeze in the moment where they're not able to say anything and they're not able to do anything. So the prevalence of anxiety disorders, according to School Mental Health Ontario, in an average class, 2 or 3 students may experience anxiety-related symptoms. Anxiety disorders occur in 6 to 10% of youth. It's one of the most common mental health disorders that exists and frequently originates during childhood or adolescence. Most students or even youth who suffer from anxiety sometimes do not even receive support or a diagnosis. Where do we feel it in our bodies? You may be lightheaded or dizzy. You may be sweating. You may have choking feeling. You may have increased heart rate, nausea, rapid breathing, chest pain or tightness, or having a panic attack, or even tingling or numbness. As it shows in the image, anxiety is the behavior that we see on the surface, and a lot of times there are underlying feelings that exist. And it could be a multitude of things such as embarrassment, shame, feeling overwhelmed, feeling insecure or hurt. And common signs of anxiety can be things such as excessive worrying, the what ifs. What if my parent were to get sick? What if I fail this test? Irritability and acting out behaviors, being argumentative, checking and rechecking behaviors, such as your backpack, your homework, other kinds of things. Difficulties falling or staying asleep, unhealthy eating, more refusal to cooperate than usual, physical symptoms such as butterflies in the stomach, headaches, nausea, difficulty with attention and concentration, procrastination of doing work, decline in performance, whether it's academic, sports, or even socially, reassurance-seeking behaviors, difficulty making decisions perhaps, avoidance of school, social situations or activities that were enjoyed in the past, or being overly self-critical if a mistake is made. So perfectionistic type of behaviors or overachievers, feeling no achievement is enough. There are other ways that sometimes anxiety may show up, such as anger, difficulty sleeping, defiance, chandeliering, which sometimes people fly off the handle for no reason, lack of focus, avoidance, negative thoughts or feelings, and over planning. Depression can be a term we use to describe feelings of sadness, irritability, or loss of interest in activities that a person used to enjoy. It's defined as an illness that may persist for long periods of time and interfere with someone's functioning. What are the symptoms or behaviors that are concerning, and is there a label for it? When is it important to have a professional determine if there is a mental illness and what that diagnosis may be called? Signs of depression might include sad mood or tearfulness, irritability or quick to anger, lack of interest or involvement, as I mentioned, in previously enjoyed activities, difficulty concentrating on tasks, activities, forgetfulness, inattention, decreased academic performance and follow through on tasks, hypersensitivity, separation anxiety, or even impulsive and risky behaviors. Changes in appetite, sleep, physical complaints such as aches and pains, sense of boredom, feelings of low self-worth, substance use, impulsive and risky behaviors, suicidal thoughts and behaviors, which of course we would seek out help for things like that. And it's important for parents to think about the acronym WITH CARE, which was put forth by School Mental Health Ontario. When did the concern start? Has it been going on for more than 2 weeks? How intense is this concern for my child given their age and their stage? How serious is it from a scale of 1 to 10? What is the timing and how often does it happen? How is the concern impacting on my child in their daily life? Are they struggling to do schoolwork, play, less interested in activities, or having trouble eating or sleeping? CARE really talks about practicing calming activities together, finding the awesome in the everyday and modeling gratitude, setting routines that are easy to follow, including rest, connection, and fun, and engaging in physical activities. And again, what can parents and caregivers do? Well, practicing self-care together with your child is very important, including modeling how to identify and manage different feelings. Talking to your child or teen and listening to their thoughts and feelings, providing predictable schedules and routines, and looking for ways to reduce stress in the child's environment if possible. Encouraging your teen to face their fears and taking small steps towards achieving those goals, and teaching problem solving and relaxation skills, and praising their effort even when mistakes are being made, and encouraging physical activity. Again, we need to ask ourselves, are these behaviors or emotions out of character for my child or teen? Are they having a negative impact on their ability to enjoy life or on our family life? Are they getting in the way of their progress at school? Are these behaviors happening more often with more intensity and lasting for a longer period of time? Again, indicators for children are very similar to teens around frequently changing mood and emotions, easily hurt feelings, crying and anger, ongoing temper tantrums, throwing things, hitting people, ongoing sadness and lack of interest in things that they normally used to enjoy, withdrawal from friends and family, increased need for contact and reassurance, little motivation or interest in schoolwork or activities, difficulty concentrating, low frustration tolerance or irritability, increase in headaches, stomach aches, other aches and pains, and again, decreased energy or problems with sleep and appetite. Taking care of yourself and your family. It's really important to engage in physical activities to release some of your stress. Eating healthy, getting an uninterrupted sleep nightly, keeping bedrooms free of electronics, turning off screens 1 to 2 hours before bedtime, limiting caffeine intake, going to bed on a regular routine every night, limiting alcohol or substances, and establishing and maintaining daily routines. And it also means engaging in enjoyable activities, because if we have an empty cup, then we won't be able to help others. We need to limit our negative intake of the news or even social media use, connecting with others, whether it's talking, texting, setting up play dates, practicing gratitude, so teaching children to reframe and look at the positive things that they have in their lives rather than things that are missing. Practicing forgiveness and even self-compassion. because we all make mistakes, or sometimes we set expectations for ourselves that are too high and we need to put things off to another time. Practicing positive self-talk and maintaining hope. Focusing on parts of life that you can control. Packing your own lunch, packing your backpack the night before, keeping control of your thoughts and your feelings and your emotions. Identifying calming strategies, which I'm going to talk about in more detail in a few minutes. Mindfulness, deep breathing, visualization, and progressive muscle relaxation. Mindfulness is paying attention to what is happening in the present moment, in the mind, in the body, and in the environment. So, for example, focusing on an object in the room using all of your senses and trying to block out distractions, noises, thoughts that might be popping in and out. It's something that you need to practice on a more regular basis before you're actually able to focus on the here and now and block out things that may be distracting. Deep breathing is something that should be practiced when you're calm, so that when you are feeling stress, anxiety, anger, sadness, you're able to use the strategy to regulate yourself and get back to a calm space. So sitting in a comfortable position, maybe closing your eyes, taking in deep breaths and holding them for a count of 5, and then slowly releasing them and repeating the cycle at least 4 to 5 times until you're able to actually calm down. Grounding is something that also helps us if we're stuck in negative thought patterns, if we're having a panic attack, if maybe we're having triggers or flashbacks from a trauma that had occurred. And it really goes along like this. 5 things that you see around you, 4 things that you can touch, naming 3 things you could hear, 2 things you could smell, or something that you can taste. Another calming strategy is visualization, which involves using mental images to achieve a more relaxed state of mind. And it's usually accomplished through the use of the imagination. So if I were to close my eyes and picture a beach setting, and I would picture what it feels like to walk on the sand, or maybe hearing the waves of the ocean, or feeling the sun on my face. And that is usually something that helps us calm down and relax. Another strategy is something called progressive muscle relaxation, which involves tensing different muscle groups in our body. For example, our neck, our shoulders, our back, our legs. And this helps us to increase our awareness of where we have tension in our bodies, and engaging in a strategy to help reduce and relax our stress. Something else that's helpful is what we call emotion-focused therapy. And that's really around how to engage in recognizing that it's okay to have different kinds of feelings. Sometimes we tend to label certain feelings as negative, such as anger or sadness or worry. But it's actually okay to have those emotions. What's important is that those emotions don't end up harming ourselves or other people in the way that we handle them by yelling or screaming at others or hitting others or throwing things. Basically, that we're attending to the emotion, we're not avoiding it, we're labeling what that emotion is. Others around us are validating that we feel that emotion, and we validate it for ourselves, and we engage in some problem solving steps to deal with it. So as a parent, you might say to a child, I can understand why you might feel frustrated because you're not able to meet up with your friends. Are you ready to talk about other options? Distress tolerance is also something that's key, because we have to learn to tolerate painful emotions and situations to avoid engaging in unhealthy behaviors that can make things worse. Anxiety, anger, other kinds of emotions may be powerful and can sometimes seem overwhelming. And these types of skills are used to kind of show that there's an element of radical acceptance, that we can tolerate the panic inducing thoughts, the pain, the anger. And we're accepting that we can't change the situation, but we can decide how we respond to it. So tools could be things such as distraction, maybe watching your favorite movie, going for a walk, using a grounding technique, maybe weighing out pros and cons to a decision that needs to be made, or even something like volunteering or helping others. Positive self-talk is another important type of tool because it builds confidence, it improves attitude, allows for risk-taking, promotes self-love, encourages motivation, helps to cope with stress, helps to work through challenges. And it's examples such as, instead of thinking things like, I'm so dumb, whoops, I made a mistake. No one likes me, I like myself, or I have a good group of friends. I'm a bad person, I did something wrong. I give up on this. This is really hard, but I'm trying. I never get anything right. I haven't figured it out yet. I'm not good enough. I'm enough, and I'm also worthy. Another thing that can sometimes influence or impact underlying mental health issues, or can become a concern in and of itself, is the internet and social media usage. Many youth spend a significant amount of time on social media and on tech devices, and social media and games are stimulating to a young person's brain. Age-appropriate use of tech is the way that we use tech to talk to friends, listen to music, explore interests, or play games in moderation. Technology use can become an issue if it interferes with a youth's level of functioning, eating, sleeping, school attendance, work completion, or if it turns out that they're isolating from peers or activities that they used to enjoy. An increase or excessive use of tech can also be related to an underlying mental health condition like ADHD, anxiety, depression, or a learning disability that hasn't been diagnosed. Parents are usually concerned about two things: the amount of time that youth spend on devices or tech, and their reluctance to cut back on it. In a survey by Common Sense Media, half of teenagers felt addicted to their device. Three-quarters of them said they felt compelled to immediately respond to texts, posts, and other notifications. So it's really important that we understand that time online has increased for valid reasons: work at home orders, virtual learning, but we need to make it purposeful. Kids and adults need to take breaks from their use of social media and tech. While experts say that parents should remain skeptical of the notion of addiction, they also argue parents should be alert for fallout from screen use, because apps and games are designed to be engaging, and it's hard for children to exercise self-control as they want to continue to play that game or scroll. And there's ample evidence that shows that intense social media use is actually correlated with an increase in anxiety and depression, as teens, especially girls, compare themselves unfavorably to their peers in terms of their looks, or may worry about missing out on things socially. Important notes. It's important for parents to set appropriate boundaries around screen time as part of routines. For example, no screen time during dinner, setting time to close or shut down tech so youth can get a proper amount of sleep. It's important for parents to also understand what children and youth are doing online, supervision of accounts, review of privacy settings, and what's appropriate to post online and what's considered to be private. How to ask for help from adults if there actually is a problem, such as cyberbullying. So again, who can help my family? Your family doctor, your pediatrician, principal or vice principal can access resources at your school like social work, child and youth services, guidance. In an emergency, contacting 911 or going to your local emergency department. If someone you know is in crisis in terms of a child or a teen, Kids Help Phone or the Distress Center, or even Mental Health Toronto has services for people. In addition, there are mental health mobile crisis units that are available 24/7 if we're worried about the safety of a child or youth. There are caregiver support lines. There are also walk-in counseling services in the city of Toronto, and that can be accessed through York Region as well. Most hospitals are OHIP funded, which means your doctor can make a referral to child and adolescent mental health units that exist in these hospitals in Toronto, as well as through Mackenzie Health and South Lake Hospital. And again, there are free websites for families around anxiety, through Kids Help Phone on various topics for kids and youth, through School Mental Health Ontario, as well as apps that are free to download that work on addressing negative thought patterns, on teaching calming techniques such as deep breathing, mindfulness, etc. So again, my name is Lisa DiNardo. I am a social worker and therapist at the Healing Recovery Center. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to the center and book an intake appointment, or look at some of the resources that we have on the website, or come in to access our services virtually or in person. Have a good day.